Am I here? Someone let me know if I'm live, if I'm here. I hope so. Feels like I am. How is everybody? I'm really excited to talk to you today about some principles of superconscious creation. So give me a thumbs up or a yes if you can get this. If you're watching a replay, type in if you're watching a replay. I'll get round and say hello. So hey guys, I'm really grateful to see you here. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being on this channel and being a part of it. It's been a wild month. Now I want to go through some very important principles of superconscious creation. And this is for you if you want to be able to take a thought, turn it into reality very, very fast, and to be able to do it without the struggle. Okay, because a lot of times what I see out there is very, very, very flawed assumptions, flawed teachers, flawed people who really are giving you pieces of information, but not the whole thing. And I was very lucky to get some training from a billionaire mentor, an alchemist, and a neuroscience psychotherapist who helped me really understand how to use the superconscious, your genius, to be able to create a life you love very fast. Okay, so the first principle is the principle of action. Okay, this principle is something that it's true. There's no way to create without action. A lot of people they're thirsty and they have a glass of water right there, and they want to manifest not being thirsty. So they sit there, they hold the right things, they pray, they get in the right energy of being completely satisfied, not thirsty. But truthfully, the faster way is just to reach out, grab the cup, and drink the water. I was once at this training, this alchemy training, and a group of people that were at the training with me, they broke down and their car ran out of gas. And so they're sitting on the side of the road and they're trying to use alchemy principles to increase the gas molecules to be able to get the car started again. And look, as they were sitting on the side of the road, lots of people stopped. Said, hey, can we give you a ride? What's going on? Can we help? And they said, no, we're all good. We ran out of gas, but we're okay. Look, eventually they got the car working. They got it moving. They were able to tap into the superconscious, make it happen. But it would have just been much faster to just jump in a car, go get some gas, fill up the car, and away you go. So the first principle is the principle of action. Now, the problem with this principle is there's two types of action. There's masculine action, and then there's feminine action as well. So there's these two types. And a lot of times, give me a yes if you've only ever thought of action as being masculine, going for it, taking action. You've also got to remember the feminine side. You see, there's the feminine side, the nurturing, the waiting. We call it procrastination, but it can also just be waiting, the caring for it. If you just stay in masculine action, you just plant a seed, plant a seed, plant a seed, plant a seed, you'll just end up with a whole field of seeds. You won't have anything that actually grows. So feminine action is very important. So this is the first principle, is the law of action. Now, the second principle is the principle of attraction. And people don't like having these two in the same sentence. There's a group of people that just believe in the law of attraction and others that just believe in action. And it's true that they both can exist. So the law of attraction is true, and you can't deny it. And let's make sure that we all get there so that you can't deny it. That is, if you plant a strawberry seed into the ground and then next to it you plant a carrot seed, okay? The strawberry seed in the exact same soil, same water, same sunlight, same everything is going to attract what it needs. And it's going to grow into something completely different to the carrot seed, you see, but it's in the same soil, same sun, same light, same everything. There's a different attraction. The attraction's in the invisible. And look, attraction and action can live in the same space, okay? So if when you fly on an airplane, you're using the principle of lift. But inside that airplane, you're still able to use the principle of gravity. Okay. Now the principle of lift is just a bigger principle, and gravity keeps everything down. So two things can exist at the same time. Same is true with attraction and action. Okay. And these are very interesting to understand, because if you were to break open the seed, you'll see nothing there. All the instructions are invisible. Does that make sense? So what you attract is what you are. What you attract is what you are. However, if that seed doesn't get acted upon, if it doesn't get planted, if it doesn't get looked after, if it doesn't get the water, the sunlight, everything, it's not going to grow into the forest. Yet, what type of forest it grows into is all down to what it is and its attraction. Does that make sense, everybody? So those are the first two principles: principle of action, principle of attraction. The next principle is the principle of a clear vision. And a lot of us, we have hazy visions. We don't get crystal clear visions. I like to call it a magnetic focus, okay? A clear vision, it's a lot of us, it's like we're an archer and there's 20 targets ahead of us. And we want all of them, and we just sat paralyzed. Well, which one am I going? And pulling back the arrow, which one am I going for? You're never going to hit 20 targets with the one arrow. So it's understanding that you must have a clear vision. You can have all the tools, all the skills, everything, but if you don't get clear on exactly what you're choosing, what you're creating, you'll never be able to get there. Hey, I just want to check in. These are the first three. We're going to go to about, I think I've got over 20, but we're going to do about 11 today. But just give me the thumbs up or hit the subscribe button if this kind of content you'd like to see more of, because I'd love to be here and celebrating and sharing this content with you as much as you guys love it. But just let me know if this is good. Leave a comment right now if you're enjoying it, if this is something you want to see more of. The fourth principle is the principle of least resistance, okay? We always take the path of least resistance, always. In fact, most roads are bending around. And the reason why they're bending around is because that's just the way that the cattle went. And then the cattle or bison went that way first. And then what happened is as humans came, well, they just took the tracks of the animals. And then humans were on horses, took the same tracks. And then they got carts, horse and cart. They went the same track, and then eventually roads and eventually cars. And it was just always the least resistant, just the way it had always been. And so we always take the path of least resistance. And so whenever I'm helping to create something for someone else, or, maybe it's another business or a relationship, we got to understand that we always take this path. And so don't beat yourself up. If you see yourself procrastinating, which is a feminine action, which is a beautiful action, procrastination is sometimes the best thing you can do. Inaction sometimes saves you more than you could ever make through action, sometimes. And so just know that whatever action you're taking inside your field, what you are, that is the least resistance. And so you just want, to have millions of dollars to be the least resistance, or to be happy or healthy or successful. You just want that to be the least resistant path. You want to have no resistance to it, and then you can just become it. Okay. And so this is the fourth principle for today, is the principle of least resistance. And it's like flowing water. Okay. Is water's going to flow based around the structure that it's in along the path of least resistance. Well, we're like 70% water or something, right? We're an energy source. We flow along the path of least resistance. Okay, so the next principle is the principle of focused attention and energy. Okay, focused attention and energy. So even though you have a clear vision, this big clear vision of what you're trying to create, even though you've got no resistance to it, focus energy is a very, 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 very important principle. Very important. Just imagine how distracted our society is. We don't have this focus, magnetic focus, this attention and energy. So imagine a surgeon, and they're going to operate on you. And as you're getting wheeled into the surgery, you notice that they've got a NFL football game up on the TV just so they can keep an eye on the game. And you think, holy crap, this person's, working on me with an eye on the game. That's not someone you're going to trust. Well, a lot of us, when we're wanting to create something, we've got to eye somewhere else. We're not just on it. So focus attention and focus energy. It's a difference between a rock and a knife. So, if you want to cut a piece of meat, you want a knife that focuses all of your force down on a very, very fine point. That's how a knife works. Okay, lots of force on a very small point. You can put that same force on a rock and you won't cut through anything, because the force is getting distributed across. So if you want to create, if you want to understand, okay, what I'm talking about, how to turn your thoughts into reality, having that laser-like magnetic focus energy, focused attention. Does that make sense? This isn't talked about enough, is that you want to put all of your energy, focus it on something, and then you're going to cut through, you see, instead of trying to go broad and wide and safe, meaning nothing to no one, you see, instead of focused and sharp. Does that make sense, everyone? Hope that does. So can someone type these in, by the way? It'd be really helpful. First one was the principle of action. Second, principle of attraction. Principle of clear vision. Principle of least resistance. Principle of focused attention and energy. And so the next principle is a principle of cause and effect. There is always a cause to all effect, but it's not always you. Okay, the principle of cause and effect. There's always a cause to the effect, but it's not always you. For example, right now, as I record this video, we're in the middle of the coronavirus COVID situation. We didn't cause this effect, but there is a cause that made this. It's not just didn't turn up out of nowhere, but it wasn't you that necessarily did it. A lot of times we get a situation in life and we ask ourselves, well, how did I create this? So, well, sometimes you did. Sometimes something else just created it. So what you got to know is that you're always, some people say, don't react. You're always reacting. There's always reacting. It's just whether or not you acquiesce to the current reality and then cause the next effect. The Stoics talked a lot about acquiescing, meaning accepting what is and staying focused on what you want. Understand that you're always causing an effect. Always causing effect allows you to realize that what you plant will grow. Okay, what you plant will grow. And so Tim says, can't too much focus cause problems when manifesting? Absolutely not. As long as you're focusing on your true end result, then that's exactly what you will go for. You focus is the most important thing, But a lot of people don't realize when I say focus, I mean their whole focus. A lot of times someone will say, hey, I'm focusing on making money. It's like, well, actually you're not. You're focusing on how you're not good enough unless you have money, you see? And so that focus is actually not on what you want. It's on something else. So focus is very important. Yet if we focus on the process, that can cause problems. So for example, someone wants to, again, I'll use money as an example. They want to manifest a lot more money, but they focus on, I've got to create a business. I've got to create this specific business, rather than just focusing on how having the money and what it would be like. So very, very important distinction. So cause and effect, okay? What you plant will grow, yet there can always be randomness. And randomness can happen all the time. You might be in a situation where you're trying to create or to grow a new forest, and then all of a sudden there's some crazy forest fire. Now, how you then take that, all right, so that happened, I need to focus. Next time, you just want to make sure you've got fire breaks around your property. So you create a good situation. So you go, okay, great. I didn't cause a forest fire, but I caused the destruction from it by understanding that. Okay, so I was part of that cause. So now I'll cause a different effect. Very important to understand this principle, is that something is always causing the effect, and the only thing you can do is notice what you've got and then focus on what you want to create, if that makes sense. So the next one is the principle of tension, or principle of disequilibrium, principle of the void. Okay, the universe abhors a void, doesn't like a void, a gap, a hole, a vacuum. It must be filled. Same with tension. You pull a rubber band, and the rubber band wants to meet in the middle, so you pull it apart. Tension or disequilibrium. So if you have water on one side of a dam, you open the dam and the water is going to flow through. So there's this really great principle that tension or disequilibrium always turns into momentum. And so when you can hold a disequilibrium for long enough, hey, Joanne, who else is on here live? Give me a hi if you haven't yet. There's a little live chat here. And if you're watching the replay, type in replay. There's this principle, guys, is that Any sort of disequilibrium, any sort of tension, any sort of void will turn into momentum. So how you hold the disequilibrium, I'm here, I want to be here. How you hold the disequilibrium and let the tension turn into momentum is a very important thing. As a creative warrior, as a philosopher king or philosopher queen, as a warrior sage, as somebody that's taking their thoughts and turning it into reality as a conscious creator, you must understand that how you hold tension, how you stay in tension or disequilibrium, not having what you desire, but staying in the end result of what you desire or wish to have happen, opening the wizard's gate, is a very, 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 very important part of how successful you'll be at taking something that is currently not manifest and turning it into manifest. And we hear about some amazing people who held true disequilibrium or true tension for a very long time, like some of the most amazing inventors or presidents or people that we look up to. They stayed outside of having it for long enough for it to have it. And this is a very interesting part of most big success stories, is they had to stay in a reality of not having it, but focused on having it for long enough for them to get it. And I like to call this tension, because tension seeks resolution. The problem is most people won't stay in that tension of not having it long enough for it to manifest and have it. They'll give up, they'll drop the tension, they'll run away, they'll do something else, they don't stay in it. So that's the principle of tension, disequilibrium, or avoid. So quick recap. Number one, principle of action. Number two, principle of attraction. Three, principle of clear vision. Four, principle of least resistance. Five, principle of focus, attention, or energy. Six, principle of cause and effect. Seven, principle of tension and disequilibrium. Tim, the hardest part of creating is holding the tension. Absolutely, holding the tension. So, hey, thanks for typing those out, Christine. Appreciate you. So the next one is the principle of evolution. Evolution, okay? And so necessity is the mother of invention. And so we will always evolve. And in fact, neuroplasticity and epigenetics proves that our brain is actually plastic, and so is all the other brains and neurological centers in our body. They shift and they change. They shift and they change. And that is because there is a principle of evolution, meaning if you don't use it, you will lose it. And if you need something, you will shift. Your body will find a way to have it. And so this principle really helps you understand that even if you're not it now, you can evolve into it, you see. But there's nothing wrong with where you are now. You're perfect. As you need something, you'll evolve into having it. A lot of us want to be ready. You know, I want to be ready. Chris, how do I get ready for having millions? You're not. Once you go and have it, it will evolve. You will evolve into the abilities to have it. You're evolve. You're always evolving. And so it's very important. If you don't want to have anxiety anymore, stop using it. You know, if you don't want to have that, stop using it. You will evolve to not need it. It is giving you something. And so evolution is a principle. If you don't use it, you lose it. And Hibbs, Hibbs law or the Hibbs method. So understanding Hebbian theory, neurons that fire together wire together, right? And Joe Dispenza talks about that a lot. Talking about Dispenza, the next principle is the principle of the placebo. Principle of placebo. And this principle is understanding that a placebo basically is an inert substance that creates an outcome just by you telling the person the outcome of what's supposed to happen. And so placebo is a very, very, very important thing. In fact, there's no drug that gets put out without a double-blind placebo-controlled study, sometimes even more than that, okay? And placebo basically says that if you can believe it and give the right instructions to your body can do it all a lot of the time. Sometimes it needs some plant medicine. And it's something that's interesting is we've got this new craze about plant medicine at the moment, but in actual fact, there's nothing that's not plant medicine. My coffee's plant medicine. Nearly everything comes from a plant. And so we've evolved with plants, by the way, talking about evolution. But a lot of times we don't need to have this plant put into whatever form it is, a spirulina pill or some vitamin C extracted or whatever it is. Sometimes we don't need that, because a lot of times the placebo or the power of the mind can take care of itself. And in World War II, there was a Surgeon General, and he ran out of morphine. So what he did is he took the sticker off a morphine drip, and he put it onto the saline salt water drip, and that's true, Patricia. And so what happened is he told everyone, the nurse and the soldier, that hey, what's in that is morphine, highly unethical. And then he was able to amputate limbs, do all sorts of surgeries with the person believing that it was morphine, and he was very successful. And so this birthed this whole idea of the placebo. So this is a complete principle. We know it to be true that just by belief alone, you can create an impact, which is very important. So that's I think that's number 9, placebo. Yeah. So then the next principle is the principle of rhythm. Okay, principle of rhythm, and this is very important about what's happening in society right now. Is we're always in a rhythm. Okay, and 4 seasons seems to be a very obvious thing to talk about, but there's obviously 4 seasons in a year. There's also 4 seasons to a lifetime. They're 28 years long. And each season has a different rhythm, but also everything you're creating has a rhythm. Society even has a rhythm. In fact, those of you who are watching this in the future, what you'll notice is the coronavirus or the COVID-19 situation, and the reaction is very, very, very similar to the 1930s. And you'll notice this this rhythm is so obvious. We have this 4-generational rhythm. And it's very interesting to watch this 4-generational rhythm. There's always a big innovation time. So if you go back 100 years, there was big innovation. Cars, electricity, radio, all of these things. Trucking came in, and so then that created the Roaring 20s. So everyone was excited. And then after that, then there was a depression, which we came out of it with a war. After the war, everything was very stable, which created stable children, the baby boom, which created a different environment, and then a different one and a different one, leading to huge innovation in the 1980s and 90s, which then, as we've now seen, it led to a recession in 2007, which is now we're at the other end of that. And so the key of understanding is that you can look at human rhythms, and you can look at everything you're manifesting. Just because you're not in summer and you're reaping all of your rewards, just know that a winter precedes a spring, a summer then turns to fall or autumn. And so it's very important to understand the principle of rhythm. Very important. Women are much better than men, I think, at understanding rhythms. I think it's because they have such an obvious body rhythm. But rhythm is very important. Sometimes you got to go up, sometimes down. You have a biorhythm, a circadian rhythm, and so this principle is something you can't you can't really escape. You can't really escape. So those are 10 really, really, really important, important principles that I've really, really, really helped me. And the last principle is that structure, the principle of structure. A mentor of mine always says structure has integrity. What that means is this principle of structure. A structure will create the outcome. Okay, will create the outcome. Yeah, chuck in some questions. I see some questions coming in, so I'll answer that in a second. The structure creates more of the outcome than working on the parts inside it. See, a lot of times, when I see personal development, their structure is completely wrong. They're in a structure that says you're broken and you must fix yourself. And so then if you're in that structure of I'm broken, when you then try to work on everything inside yourself, but because you're in a structure that you're not good enough or broken, that structure never allows you to have the end result, because that's who you become. A different structure that you can be in is that I'm completely fine and my results over here, I'm separate. And that structure is going to help you be way more successful when you don't have to change yourself to be successful. So structures everywhere. There's a structure in a beach ball or a basketball. And if you hit one of those, they move. Whichever way you hit it, it moves. That's very different to the structure of a rocking chair or a pendulum. You hit a structure like that, it moves forward, moves back, moves forward, moves back. Very different to the structure of an automobile, which you can turn but moves forward. Or very different to the structure of a skyscraper, that if you push a skyscraper, it doesn't move. Okay, and so you got to understand this. Probably the most important principle is the principle of structure, and realizing that if you're simply on the wrong structure, it doesn't matter what you do inside of it, you just won't win. So those are the 11 principles I wanted to cover today. I've actually got a whole nother page which I could go through another time, but I think that they were really, I think that was enough. So quick recap: the principle of action basically says that sometimes you just got to just do it. Principle of attraction: you must be it before you see it. The principle of a clear vision: you can't hit two targets with one stone. The principle of least resistance: you will always follow least resistance. The principle of focused attention or focused energy is understanding that if you split your focus, you're going to split your potency. The principle of cause and effect: everything has an effect. Everything you are causing or is being caused by something else. All you got to do is acquiesce to the situation and then cause the next effect. The principle of tension or disequilibrium states that tension will turn into momentum. The universe abhors a void. The principle of evolution: if you don't use it, you lose it. We're always evolving. The principle of the placebo: if you believe it, you can create it. The principle of rhythm, the seasons, the cycles, and the last, the principle of structure. So I hope that you really enjoyed that. Please share the relationship between tension, disequilibrium, and evolution. On the surface, it appears that evolution carries out the tension. Yeah, I mean, it could do. Tension's always going to seek a resolution, Robert. That's the key. By the way, guys, if you enjoyed this video, can you hit the thumbs up under the video, or could you share this out? By doing that, by subscribing to my channel, you let YouTube know that this is a good video, and it actually helps me to reach more people with it. So please do that. It's really it just helps. It just helps me. It takes you a minute to just go share on Facebook, share it across to Facebook, or leave a comment. It takes you 2 seconds, but it makes a huge difference to the algorithm. So I appreciate you. So Robert, I mean, it seems that tension creates evolution. I think it depends. If you look at a really macro level, that would probably be true, but also just the tension of moving from, I'd like to have more money, I don't have money. Just that you don't necessarily need to evolve to shift between those two, but at the same time, maybe you do evolve. So I think it's very contextual, to tell you the truth. I think it's very contextual. Tim, no, I'm not doing a recode. I just wanted to come in and share some principles today. I wanted to be here with you and share some things I think are very useful. For me, learning how to get an idea, create it, turn it into reality, let it take its own roots, and then grow itself is absolutely the most. It's just the most exciting, relaxing, enjoyable, fulfilling thing I've ever learned how to do. And if I can just do one thing in this lifetime, which is just share these universal principles of how to create, how to manifest, and how to really master this 3D, third dimension reality by accessing 5-dimension reality, it's it brings me a lot of joy. So thank you so much for being on this one. I'm gonna do some more. So please share my channel out. I've got a lot of things here to share. We've got obviously workbooks coming out of us, of all the work we do. If you're in the certification, love you. Hope you enjoyed your session with Hannah today. I think you're on live with her right now. If you're in the masterclass, we've got lots coming up this week as well. And if you're not, you're missing out. Love you guys. Have a great day. Please hit subscribe. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.